it's in print at last. Congratulations.
Come out rather well, I think. I found a misprint already.
No, I think it looks absolutely splendid. Well done, Father. Can I borrow this?
You can keep it. I've inscribed the first copy for you.
Thank you, Father. I shall take it to the city with me. I'm sure it's more interesting than the price of tea.
Oh, here. Your letter.
Oh, Bunny Newbury asked me to go shooting next weekend. I don't think I'll go.
Well, why not? You don't get out enough these days.
Oh, Father, you used to say I was always...
Dashing around? Yes, well, it has been rather a quiet household these past few months. Change of scene will do you good. Who else is going to be there?
He doesn't say. Just come down next weekend, bring your gun. Says he can supply me with a loader. I suppose I could take Edward, and not that he knows anything about guns.
Why not take Hudson? He's an experienced loader. I always found him an excellent valet.
Hudson? He wouldn't want to come.
Why on earth not? He's country born and bred. Whenever your mother and I took him to Chatsworth, he was delighted.
Oh, possibly, but he'd find it far beneath his dignity to accompany me. He and I haven't always seen eye to eye. Have we?
Well, now you have a very good opportunity to show you bear him no ill will. Ask him.
Oh, all right. I bet he won't want to come. He thinks this house would fall to pieces if he wasn't here to look after it.
Well, in that case, it'll do Hudson good to know that he's not indispensable.
Oh, and here is the key to my wine cellar, Mrs. Bridges. I don't feel like giving it into the hands of Edward. I've told him that if he needs it, he can ask you for it.
Very good, Mr. Hudson. Well, I hope you have a pleasant stay in Somerby Park. The Marquis of Newbury is quite young, I believe.
Only inherited last year, Mrs. Bridges. A rather rackety young gentleman.
Oh, dear.
Nevertheless, I expect to find a well-run household. As his lordship's mother, the Dowager Marchioness, is still in residence, his lordship being unmarried.
Well, it'll make a nice change for you, Mr. Hudson.
A change is not everything, Mrs. Bridges. I would much prefer to stay here at my post.
I don't really want to go at all.
Well, why do you go then?
Well, one just does, you know.
I sometimes think that people in society are like migrating birds. Well, they flock to Ascot, and they flock to Goodwood, and they flock to...
Scotland for the grouse and back to England for the pheasants.
Thank you. And they don't know why they do it. It's just that everyone else does.
You're absolutely right. Shall I stay at home? Would you like me to?
Me? What have I got to do with it?
Don't you think you'll miss me?
I doubt it. With the amount of work your father's given me to do, I shall be much too busy. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
I think his lordship is consulting with the head-keeper, my lord.
Don't worry, Makepeace. I'll look after myself. Ah, Kitty and Cocky here already. What a surprise.
Charles, I'm so glad to see you. We quite thought that everyone was arriving this morning.
I suppose come to lunch and come to tea do look rather alike in Bunny's handwriting.
Yes, they do.
Talking of tea.
Yes, I really do think that poor old Makepeace is getting quite senile. I told him he could bring in tea a quarter of an hour ago.
Perhaps he felt he should wait for the rest of the guests, or even for our hostess.
Oh, Dolly will be having tea in her boudoir with Mr. Weinberg. So much smarter to have a tame Jew than a poodle, and much more useful. It's too funny to think of him sitting up there taking tea and advising Dolly about her investments.
I wish he'd advise us about ours.
Well, perhaps if Kitty's nice to him, he will.
Well, I admired his tweed suit. I never once said it made him look like a bookie's runner. I really don't know what more I can do.
I suppose darling Diana will be with us. Diana the huntress pursued by a bunny, that's quite a reversal.
Such a lovely girl. Not quite as young as she was. I suppose Bunny does mean to pop the question this weekend. Oh, Cocky. Now, what are you prowling about for?
Hunting for cigarettes.
Your case is empty, is it?
What? Yes, I think it is. Oh, I seem to have one after all. Isn't that lucky?
There was a girl on the train. A very pretty little thing.
Oh, really?
Not very chatty. Golden hair and big blue eyes.
I say golden hair.
Yes, it could be the youngest Grey girl. So pretty and almost an idiot.
Anyone else coming?
Only James Bellamy.
Oh, James is coming. Good.
So embarrassing, his mother having gone down on the Titanic. One feels quite inhibited about mentioning water. Cocky, you had better drink soda with your whiskey while you're here.
Wasn't James Bellamy rather keen on Diana at one time?
Was he? In that case, I wonder why Bunny's asked him.
Perhaps it was Diana's idea.
Perhaps it was.
Make sure they put the car under cover, Hudson.
Very good, sir.
Cocky, we've got some food.
Tea, darling. Milk or lemon?
I say, Diana, I'm fearfully glad you could come.
Are you, Bunny? It is rather good of me to come when you invite people like Kitty Danby. She's such a cat.
I suppose she is rather awful.
Yes, of course she is. So why'd you ask her?
I don't know, really.
Trouble is, Bunny, you never know why you do things. It gets rather boring.
Diana, darling. Hello, Tristan.
Hello, Diana.
Captain Bellamy, my lord.
Oh, Jimmy, I'm glad you could come. Now, Kitty, you know Jimmy Bellamy, don't you?
Yes, I do. But don't expect me to be polite to him. He behaved very badly when we were playing croquet at Wilton. He hit my ball into the shrubbery, and when I went to look for it, he didn't even follow me.
I apologize for my bad manners and my bad taste.
Hello, James.
Charles.
I didn't expect to see you. I thought you were a city gent now.
Ah, well, even city gents get time off for good behaviour.
Now, look, Jimmy, I want you to meet Miss Gray. Now, he's going to tell you all about buying tea in India and shipping it back to England.
Oh, gosh, that sounds terribly interesting.
Well, I don't know about that. Hi, Hannah.
Hello,
I'm simply
James.
splendid. I didn't know you were going to be here. I thought you loathed shooting parties.
Do I? I must have forgotten. Come on, have a scone. They're delicious.
Oh, hello, Cocky. Found the food, as usual.
You haven't got any tea, have you?
No.
No.
You're quite right. They're absolutely delicious. Do you remember the cinnamon toast we used to have down at Southwold?
Yes. I remember my first weekend there when I was so frightened. Biting into a piece and spilling butter all down my dress. Your grandmother was beastly about it.
She called you a hoyden.
What would she say about me now?
Just the same. Grandmother never changes.
I say, Jimmy, would you mind looking after Miss Gray? She doesn't know a soul, and she hasn't had anything to eat.
I'll beat her.
Have you heard from Elizabeth lately?
I had a postcard last week from Toronto.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes, she's got...
Mr. Hudson, good evening.
Ah, good evening, Mr. Breeze.
Very nice to see you, I'm sure.
Thank you. The chauffeur brought the car round, but there doesn't seem to be anyone to carry in the luggage.
Oh, there should be someone about. Oh, Henry, fetching Captain Bellamy's luggage, will you?
Rightio.
You, didn't come on the London train, then?
No, we drove down in Captain Bellamy's motor car.
One of those little open things, is it?
It is.
Now, that's one thing I hate. You get blown about, your gentleman gets dusty, and what's the point of it all? The train gets there quicker and more comfortable. His lordship wanted me to go up to London with him in his motor last week. I said, much obliged, my lord, I said. But I think it will serve better if you drive, I go by train, and I'll be there in time to help get the luggage out of the dicky, if it hasn't fallen out on the way.
You wouldn't have talked like that to his late lordship, Mr. Breeze.
There's a good many things done in this house, Mr. Hudson, that wouldn't have suited his late lordship.
Oh, take care of that.
Yeah, watch it, Henry. He'll have Captain Spray rum all over his shirts.
I'll take the gun.
A gun room's in here.
Thank you, Mr. Breeze.
Captain Bellamy's in the, blue dressing room, Henry.
Righto, Mr. Breeze.
You might show Mr. Hudson his room at the same time. He's in the west wing next to Mr. Gilmore, Lord Charles's gentleman.
That bag is mine. You may carry that too, if you will.
Yes, sir. Well, very nice to have you with us, Mr. Hudson. Tea will be served shortly in the servants' hall, and we shall be very happy, I'm sure, to welcome you to the upper servants' sitting room after dinner.
Thank you, Mr. Breeze. Mr. Breeze.
Yes, Mr. Hudson?
Does Mr. Makepeace take his tea in the servants' hall?
Mr. Makepeace? Dear me, no. He has his tea in the housekeeper's room.
Mrs. Kenton, I believe.
That's right.
Mr. Rees, I wonder if you were good enough to have a message conveyed to Mrs. Kenton to the effect that Mr. Hudson would like a word with her.
Very good. Mr. Hudson?
Now, Jimmy, you won't need a loader, will you?
No, no, thanks. I've got Hudson. Who's shooting?
Well, there's you, me, Cocky, Charlie, Max Weinberg, and one or two what my mother will call aborigines, you know, harmless locals.
Who on earth is that with your mother?
It's Max Weinberg.
He's a highly successful financier whose hobby, which he practices rather less successfully, is being an English gentleman.
Well, he used to advise the old king on his investments, and he now advises my mother. He likes coming down here for the shooting and the hunting, and that's how he gets paid for it.
He's got 2 pairs of Purdy's specials, both brand new, costing about £400.
So he can shoot 4 beaters without even reloading.
You have to put him on the outside, fiddle the draw, then he can't do too much harm.
Good evening, Charles.
Good evening, Lady.
James, how very pleasant to see you here again.
Good evening, Lady Newbury.
How's your dear aunt?
Very well.
She and I had such an interesting time in the summer, helping Daisy Warwick organise teas for miners' wives. Poor things, they were quite overawed, but they did appreciate it so much. You must come and meet Max Weinberg. Now you're working in the city, he might be useful to you. Max, this is Captain Bellamy.
How do you do?
Captain Bellamy, what an excellent speech your father made on the financial provisions of the Home Rule Bill.
Oh, I'm glad you approve.
I approve whenever a politician talks sense about money. Doesn't happen often.
Max, hi.
Are you coming shooting with us tomorrow?
I might. I'd do almost anything to avoid spending the morning listening to Kitty Danby saying unpleasant things about people. If you disagree with her, you sound like a prig. If you don't, you feel ashamed afterwards.
Well, come and stand with me then. Quite like old times. Remember shooting rabbits with me down at Southwold?
Yes. I had to retrieve them, and I got blood all over my dress, and there was a frightful row when I got home.
Make it sound as though I did absolutely nothing for the first 16 years of my life. It makes things difficult for you.
You did. So what are you going to do about it now?
James, Miss Gray and I are trying to decide whether or not your grandmother is related to her aunt, Lady Threadgold. Do come and settle it for us.
Oh, well, Lady Southwold, that is my grandmother.
Better, Jimmy. What is? Well, I asked him down here for Miss Gray, and he's not
doing his duty.
When you ask people to stay, you expect them to fit in, do their bit. I mean, it doesn't make a pattern unless they keep in their place.
And where is my place?
Come in. Ah, Mr. Hudson, you're Captain Bellamy's valet, I believe. You wanted to speak to me?
Mrs. Kenton, I think there has been some very natural misunderstanding. I am not, strictly speaking, Captain Bellamy's valet. I hold the position of butler to Mr. Richard Bellamy and to the late Lady Marjorie Bellamy. Captain Bellamy's valet, Edward, would normally have accompanied him, but since there was shooting involved and Edward is not experienced with guns, I offered to take his place for this occasion and act as valet loader.
Well, I'm sure Captain Bellamy appreciates it. Nevertheless, you're in this household in the capacity of valet. And if you wish to complain to me about your place in the servants' hall...
Complain about my place? Oh, certainly not. As far as my place is concerned, I think I should be content to quote the old Scottish saying and remark that where the MacGregor sits is the head of the table. No, no, Mrs. Kenton. In my own house in Eaton Place, I am, as it were, master below stairs. I don't expect anyone to question my authority there, and I would not dream of questioning your authority here. It was merely that I felt that some slight embarrassment might arise later if it was realized that the situation had been misunderstood. I'm sure I shall find it an interesting experience to take tea in the servants' hall. It will remind me of my old days as a footman at Southwold.
All right, Betsy, you can lay the table. Mr. Hudson, perhaps you'd care to stay and take tea with Mr. Makepeace and myself, just for this afternoon.
Thank you, Mrs. Kenton, but I must unpack for the captain. He'll be wanting to change since we travelled down by motor, and it was rather dusty.
Well, perhaps you'd care to return in half an hour.
Thank you, Mrs. Kenton. That will be very pleasant.
Sherry, sir?
You haven't got any cocktails, have you?
No, sir.
Oh, well.
It really is too deliciously amusing to see Dolly Newbury and Bunny like two over-anxious sheepdogs trying to herd James Bellamy in the direction of Miss Grey.
And he keeps slipping out of the pen and joining Diana, leaving Bunny with Miss Grey.
Oh, poor Bunny. I'm sure he's invited Diana down with the express intention of getting engaged to her before the weekend was over. Wouldn't it be too amusing if she got engaged to James Bellamy instead? Shall we see if we can contrive it?
Why not?
I hope they're looking after you all right, Hudson.
Oh, quite satisfactory, thank you, sir. I'm acquainted with his lordship's valet, and the housekeeper seems to be a very agreeable woman.
Good. Just as long as they're making you comfortable.
Very comfortable, thank you, sir.
What time are we starting?
At 9 o'clock, sir.
Are we going on after lunch?
No, sir. I understand the ladies are driving out to join you for luncheon. It is pleasant to see Lady Diana Russell again, sir.
Yes, very pleasant.
She was always a great favourite of her ladyship's. I remember her ladyship saying to me once, Lady Diana is coming to dinner, Hudson. We must ask Mrs. Bridges to make that raspberry pudding she's so fond of.
I don't remember Lady Diana dining at Eaton Place.
I think it was when you were in India, sir. Yes, I remember when Lady Diana arrived, she asked if you were going to be there. And she seemed very disappointed when she heard that you were not. As it is rather a chilly morning, sir, I think perhaps you should wear a Guernsey under your jacket. I'll get it out so that you can put it on after breakfast.
Well, thank you, Hudson.
Mr. Makepeace, did you want any other glasses besides the claret?
Huh? What?
We've packed the claret glasses. Do you want tumblers as well?
Don't you come here asking me questions. I'll tell you what to do soon enough. Don't you come bothering me.
No, Mr. Makepeace.
I hope you're putting in some rugs and chairs, Mr. Makepeace. The gentleman will sit on the ground, and I don't want his lordship's new suit all nasty green stains.
The ground? He won't sit on the ground. Not with his arthritis. He'd never get up again.
I'm talking about his young lordship, Mr. Makepeace. His late lordship is dead.
Oh, I know he's dead. What are you talking about?
Morning, Mr. Makepeace.
Good morning. Good morning. Who are you? Do I know you?
Mr. Hudson, butler to Mr. Richard Bellamy and the late Lady Marjorie Bellamy.
Ah, yes. You're guests in the house, are they?
Captain Bellamy is staying here.
Ah, yes. That's what I thought. Just tasting the claret. Lordship's very particular about his claret. Always has been. I remember for the old Queen's Jubilee, we gave a supper to 150 estate workers. And his lordship said, give them claret, Makepeace, he said. Let them try the real thing for once.
I dare say they would just as soon have had beer.
That's what I said. My lord, I said they'd just as soon have beer, I said. But he said, let them try the real thing for once. Of course, it wasn't his best claret.
Do I know you? Hudson, Mr. Makepeace. I had the pleasure of taking tea with you and Mrs. Kenton yesterday.
Ah, yes. I thought I knew your face.
Bunny says the weather's been very bad this summer. A lot of young birds died.
We've had a lot of trouble with vermin at Bromsbury.
Good God.
Morning, Major Danby.
Morning, Mr. Weinberg. Those gaiters of yours are going to get a bit muddy, aren't they?
Oh. My man's very good with gaiters, you know. He used to be with Lord Harcourt.
Really? Is that a diamond tie-pin?
Oh, it looks like it.
It's no use. I can't get used to seeing the fellow here. I mean, good God, one might as well invite one's tailor.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
We should have good sport today, I think.
Oh, I hope so.
I'm looking forward to trying my new Purdy guns. All magnificent pair, special short barrels. You must see them. What guns do you use, Captain Bellamy?
Me? Oh, I use the same gun I've used for 10 years. Hammer action, built for my grandfather in 1885. I don't particularly want to change now.
Weinberg, I hear your firm's financing this new railway in Uganda. Is that likely to be profitable soon?
I'm afraid I have no information on that at the moment.
Come on, you chaps. Early start. Come on.
Extraordinary, these Jews are. They never talk about anything but money.
Or on the big wood.
Yes. More pheasants now. Far better pheasants. They fly fast. Foxes keep them away.
Number one.
What are you having?
Morning.
Thanks, John.
7. Lovely morning.
2.
Number 5.
Yeah, that's all right.
Thank you.
3.
6.
6. Weinberg, you're next to James, all right?
Oh, jolly good.
You never know. He might hit a tail feather at 2. I'm glad you could come, James. We've not seen you about much lately. Still, I suppose in the circumstances you've not really had much choice.
Hmm?
I gathered Diana especially saw to it that you were asked.
Did she?
So I believe. May not be true, of course. That's you, I believe.
Oh, Mrs. Cochrane-Danby, I found your piece of sky.
That is almost too exciting to bear. Perhaps you'd very kindly put it in for me, Miss Gray.
Yes, of course.
Oh, it really is appallingly cold. Miss Gray, I wonder if you'd ring the bell for the footman to make up the fire.
Yes, of course. Do you think we should?
Well, since the alternative is to freeze to death, I'm quite sure we should.
Oh, yes.
Oh, shooting parties are really such a bore. Either one is left alone to amuse oneself until tea time, or else one goes to have lunch in a muddy field, to the ruination of one's boots and gloves. And the men come in at 4 o'clock with splitting headaches, fit for nothing but dozing in front of the fire and tumbling into bed, usually their own. I really don't know why I come.
Don't you?
At least we know why James Bellamy's come, and I don't mean for the shooting.
Oh?
Oh, my dear Diana, surely you know.
Know what?
Well, James said he wouldn't come at first, but then Bunny told him you would be here, so he changed his mind. Dear, now I've betrayed a confidence. Oh, it really can't be helped.
Well, it's a long time since you and I were out in the country together, Hudson.
Indeed it is, sir. Makes a pleasant change.
Tell me, do you ever regret not becoming a gamekeeper like your father?
I have never believed in dwelling on what might have been, sir.
I'm going for a walk.
Over you, sir.
Hudson, if you see Mr. Weinberg pointing his gun in this direction, fall flat on your face. I certainly intend to.
Very good, sir.
You see that, Hudson?
Left and right, sir. Very good shooting, sir.
It was indeed.
Good morning, Lady Newbury.
Dear Celia, how charming you look. Mrs. Danby, always so striking.
Lady Newbury.
Now, are we ready? I think we can all fit into the landau. Where's Lady Diana?
She went for a walk. I think she's probably already there.
Ah, yes, she and my son are such friends. It's quite delightful to see them together.
Quite.
You're a wee bit ahead of that, sir. Good shot, sir. That one's hard hit, sir.
Oh, hello.
I took you at your word. Is that all right?
Yes. Yes, if I got 2 pairs of guns like Mr. Weinberg, you could help Hudson load.
Lady.
I'd rather sit here, thank you.
Nice shot, sir.
Langton! Come on, pick up! Come on, pick up, everyone! Langton! Come on, James. Luncheon, everyone. Body?
Hello, Bunny. I'm going to see how you're getting on.
Oh, I say, Diana, that's simply ripping.
You shoot very well, Mr. Weinberg.
Thank you. I never believe it's worth doing anything unless one does it well.
Mr. Makepeace, do you think we ought to get the hay boxes out of the break?
Oh, sir? Not yet. I don't want the food to get cold.
Better get the glasses out.
Hi.
Did you shoot well?
Beautiful.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Where should we all sit down?
Lady. Get some chairs out of the tent, quickly. Set them round the table.
Thank you.
Now, quickly. Do you wish the hot food put out, Mr. Makepeace?
Mustn't get it out too soon. It get cold.
The ladies and gentlemen are here, Mr. Makepeace, ready for their luncheon.
Huh?
Look, get the hay boxes out of the rake. Set the food out on the table. Would you care to come and sit down, Mr. Makepeace? I dare say you're feeling a wee bit tired after all your exertions.
A bit tired, yeah. Have a sleep.
This way.
James, you sit there.
Give me a hand. Here we are. All right, Mr. Up we go. Got a hold of them. Right. Get those hot patties handed round at once. I'll open some wine. Is that the hot pot for the beaters? Set it out behind the tent. Quickly now, quickly.
Have some I've been told to keep back.
Where's Makepeace?
He's feeling unwell, my lady.
Oh, I see. It's very kind of you to help us out.
Hudson, make sure you get something to eat yourself.
Oh, yes, sir. I shall have something presently.
Thank you so much.
Miss? Or would you prefer ginger wine, miss?
Oh, yes, please. I love ginger wine.
I'll get some at once, miss.
Remarkable loader you have there.
Oh, no, he's really our butler, but he acts as a valet loader sometimes.
Butler, valet, loader, and diplomat. Quite a valuable object.
You mean that dog?
Oh, I hope everything went all right, milady.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Kenton. Poor old Makepeace was feeling rather unwell. I think it must have been the cold.
Yes, milady, it does affect him. I hope the luncheon didn't suffer.
Oh, no. That man of Captain Bellamy's was very helpful. Everything went off splendidly. Oh, Mrs. Kenton, we must remember that man. What's his name? Hudson? If ever our dear old Makepeace should think of retiring, that is exactly the kind of man we should be looking for.
It looks quite an interesting hand.
Oh, well played, partner.
It's a bit of luck. Kitty?
Do you play bridge, Miss Gray?
Oh, no. I wish I did. I shall have to get someone to teach me.
I should be glad to teach you.
Would you really?
You want to watch out for Cocky, Miss Gray. He's much more dangerous than he looks.
Oh, Mrs. Cochrane-Danby, I'm sure he isn't.
Come on, Cocky, you don't play nearly well enough to teach Miss Gray. Much better let James do it.
Oh, I assure you nothing will give me more pleasure, but Diana has faithfully promised to teach me new patience so I can teach my grandmother when we next go to Southwell.
Oh, well, Bunny, I must admit you do play a much better game than I do, Miss Gray. I gracefully resign.
Miss Gray, I'm not much of a teacher.
Oh, dear, and I'm so dreadfully stupid.
Yes. No, of course you're not.
Do you really want to learn the patience?
Not in the least. And if it's a really fiendish one, I'm sure my grandmother knows it already.
Oh, dear, I've forgotten whether you said the ace is high or low.
I pity that little creature.
There's probably a hidden genius underneath. She's pretty enough, but a little out of her depth.
She tries to do all the things her mother has told her to do.
And what has your mother told you to do?
Oh, the usual things. Marry well. Only her idea of marrying well is not the same as mine.
What's yours?
I think it ought to be something more than agreeing to share the same house and butler. I sometimes wish I'd been born in something rather BC when people lived in caves. And men and women got married just so as to huddle together for warmth and stop each other being frightened of the dark.
Are you frightened of the dark?
Sometimes, aren't you?
Sometimes.
Would you like to huddle close to me for warmth?
Try me.
I say, I think Miss Gray would learn to play much better if we all four played together.
What a good idea, Bunny. We got tired of playing patience anyway.
Oh, good. Miss Gray, we've got...
Oh, Mr. Hudson.
Yes, Mr. Rees?
Message from Mrs. Kenton for you. Would you care to join her for breakfast tomorrow morning? 8:30, if that will be convenient.
Quite convenient. Thank you, Mr. Rees. Thank you.
Sugar?
Thank you.
Mr. Makepeace doesn't usually join me for breakfast these days, so it's very pleasant for me to have company. People don't always realize that the life of a housekeeper in a large household can sometimes be rather lonely.
Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown, eh?
Exactly. I expect you find that at, where is your house?
Eaton Place. Ah, it is a much smaller household there.
Oh?
Salt.
No, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Bellamy, though a member of Parliament, lives in a comparatively modest style, especially since the tragic death of her ladyship.
Yes, quite. What does the household consist of?
Myself, the cook, house parlour maid, a footman, housemaid and kitchen maid.
Dear me, that is a small household. You must sometimes feel that such a very restricted staff hardly exercises your abilities.
I've never really thought about it.
Oh, the trouble with our line of work, Mr. Hudson, is that there are not many opportunities of getting to the top. I remember my dear mother saying to me, when I first came here as kitchen maid all those years ago, Ethel, she said, work hard and work will be its own reward. Oh, I little thought when I crept in through those gates, too frightened even to look up, one day I'd be housekeeper. I often think to myself, if only Mother could see me now.
Aye, there's a great satisfaction in reaching the top of the tree.
Some people might think that the responsibilities of the Newbury butler are almost too great. Not only Somerby Park and the house in Grosvenor Square. Of course, that's kept fully staffed at all times. But the house in Scotland as well.
I see.
Some toast, Mr. Hudson. And perhaps you'll be kind enough to ring the bell. I think we should like some hot toast.
Certainly.
Yes, the Newbury butler has to be a man who is not afraid to take command. He needs to have a natural authority. Not everyone has.
No, that's very true.
Her ladyship was remarking to me yesterday how very much she appreciated the way you helped everything to go smoothly at the shooting luncheon.
I was only too glad to be of service.
Of course, Mr. Makepeace will be retiring soon.
Oh, indeed.
Oh, some hot toast, please, Betsy.
Oh, I brought some, Mum,
No,
please.
is that fresh?
Oh, yes, Mum. Just this minute made.
Oh, very well, Betsy.
Thank you. Please.
Oh, thank you. Of course, I know that you're perfectly suited now, Mr. Hudson.
Yes, certainly.
But if you should ever decide that you wanted a change and felt that you would like the post of butler at Somerby, I think I can safely say that it would be yours. Of course, I don't know if the idea would be likely to appeal to you.
It would certainly be a challenge.
And one I think that you'd enjoy.
Yes, I would.
Well, if you should decide to leave your present position, you've only to write a letter to me here and the matter would be settled. Marmalade?
Wait for me. Diana. James. Wait.
His Lordship and Lady Diana Russell make such a fine couple. We're expecting some happy news shortly, you know.
Captain Bellamy and Lady Diana are also old friends.
Ah. But when it comes to marriage, I think a marquis takes precedence over a commoner, don't you?
Who's coming to church? Celia?
Yes, of course, Lady Newbury.
I still say
I won by a nose.
It's longer than mine.
That's the luck of the game.
Oh, come along, Bunny, or we'll be late. You're reading the lesson this morning.
Oh.
And I'm sure Diana will want to come too, to keep you company.
I shall come to keep Diana company and to cheer you on when you turn over 2 pages instead of 1.
I wish you wouldn't. I feel such a fool when I get to those begots and begats.
All right, we'll stay here.
I think we should try to fill the pew.
All right, we'll come.
I'll get my gloves.
I'll get my hat.
Now, race you upstairs.
Childhood friends, you know. Quite like brother and sister. Come along, we'll go on ahead and they can follow us.
Quite like brother and sister. It really is too bad that we didn't have a bet.
On what?
On the Lady Diana stakes.
Oh, I'll bet with you if you like.
But we should both bet the same way.
Oh?
On James Bellamy.
No, I'll bet on Bunny.
You can't be serious. She's head over heels in love with James. I mean, she's head over heels in love with him before, but he hadn't any money. Now he has the Southwold inheritance, and she means to have him.
But does he mean to have her? Bunny does. 10 guineas?
10 guineas.
Weinberg, you can hold the stakes. Or would you like a bet yourself?
I never bet on human beings. They're much too unpredictable.
Evening, Mr. Hudson.
Good evening.
Mr. Hudson,
Good evening, Mr. Makepeace.
been out for a stroll?
Ah, that's one of the advantages of being in the country. There's not much pleasure in strolling about the London streets.
I was born in London, Oh, does Sue walk down the old Kent Road as through a field of daffodils? You'll be off tomorrow, then?
Yes, Captain Bellamy has to go to his office.
Well, I'll be sorry to see you go. It's a big responsibility, this place.
Yes, it must be.
I didn't notice it so much when his old lordship was alive. But now, when it comes to maintaining standards, it's all on my shoulders.
I know what you mean.
I sometimes think that going into service is like getting married. You live in the same house, you back each other up, quarrel sometimes, but you make your lives together. And then the master dies.
Or the mistress.
You're expected to carry on, just as if nothing had happened. But you can't. It's a question of loyalty, you see.
Yes. It's a question of loyalty.
I say, what shall we do?
What about charade?
Oh, no, we've done all the easy words and we can never guess the difficult ones. Sardines! Sardines, oh, what a good idea. Now, who shall hide? James?
Oh, right.
Oh, I say, my mother wouldn't approve on a Sunday. It does make so much noise.
Only because last time Charles would insist on hiding in the attics and frightening all the housemaids into fits.
Why don't we roll the carpets back and dance?
Oh,
We could turn the lights out and dance by candlelight. Oh, so romantic.
But unfortunately, we've no orchestra.
Oh, Bunny, where's your gramophone?
Oh, better still, Bunny, why don't you play for us? You play ragtime so much.
that was a good idea.
Yes, it would be awfully good fun. Don't you think so, Miss Gray?
Oh, gosh, you're simply deepy.
Well, I'll ring the bell for the candles. Charles, James, and Cocky, you roll the carpet back.
Roll the carpet. Oh, dance around the fire.
Oh, what a shame. If Bunny is playing, he won't be able to dance with Diana.
It's positively Machiavellian. You're trying to nobble my nag.
Not too bad, was it? All's fair in love and war.
Sorry.
Thank you.
You work in the city, I believe.
Yes, worse luck.
Oh, don't say worse luck. Say thank God. Do you know the phrase I hear most often in English country houses? What shall we do? All those intelligent and capable young men and women saying, what shall we do? They sneer at me for being in business. Oh, yes, I'm well aware of it. I like to hunt and shoot, go racing. I don't want the trouble of a house of my own, so I put up with it. It amuses me to come away for weekends, and so I do it. But if I had to be one of those idle young men, marry one of those idle young women, I'd put my Purdy's special to my head and shoot myself. By the way, if you should happen to have any money lying about, that new Australian tin mine might be quite a good idea. Good night.
Good night. That's all right, Hudson. Thank you.
Very good, sir. Good night, sir.
Good night. Hello?
You don't mind, do you?
Hey, what's up?
Beast! Cocky Danby. He said if I dropped a glove outside my door, he'd pay me a visit. So I did.
You did?
Cecile's there. My maid, she thinks every man who comes near is going to ring a phone.
Should be interesting.
That's what I thought. Quick, turn the light out. I think he's coming.
Oh, yes.
He said he sleeps in his dressing room so Kitty wouldn't hear him.
Taking his shoes off. Oh, I enjoyed that. Even if Cocky didn't. Shall I take you back to your room?
Don't bother.
Good night.
You know Bunny wants to marry me.
Yes, he's not nearly good enough for you.
No.
Goodbye, Mr. Hudson. It's been a great pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you for making my stay so enjoyable.
Mr. Hudson, I hope to hear from you very shortly.
I say, Diana, I know you think I'm a fearful bore, but,
What?
well, Diana, will you marry me?
Why not?
Oh, you're back.
Hello, Hazen.
Did you have a good time?
Have you ever been to a party and thought you were enjoying yourself, and then suddenly wanted to come home?
Hudson, thank heavens you're back. I've just received this letter from Lady Southwell. She's arriving this evening.
In London, sir?
Here, Hudson. She's coming up for some charity or other tomorrow morning and wants to stay here.
Very good, sir.
Not very good at all. Not with a group of liberal gentlemen dining here, including Mr. Churchill. Her ladyship would be mortally offended.
Quite so, sir.
But our business is important, and I don't want to put the dinner off.
Might I suggest, sir, that Captain James might escort Lady Southwell to the theatre?
The theatre?
A sweet Nell of Old Drury, Mr. Fred Terry. I believe Lady Southwell very much admires them.
Yes, you're right, Hudson. Her ladyship has a particular weakness for Fred Terry. It's extraordinary, really. Is Captain James free?
I asked him if he had any engagements for this evening, sir, and he said that he had not. And then perhaps we could prepare a cold supper upstairs in the drawing room.
Yes. And her ladyship need never meet my guests at all. Hudson, you're a wonder. Miss Forrest has gone to the British Museum to check some documents for me. Perhaps when she returns, you'll consult with her about the arrangements. Oh, I suppose her ladyship could have Miss Elizabeth's room. Oh, but then she's bringing that extremely disagreeable companion of hers. What can you do about her?
I think Rose will be able to manage Miss Hodges, sir.
Yes, I expect she will. Hudson, I don't know what we should do without you. Send Edward round for the theatre tickets, will you? And telephone Captain James.
Very good, sir.
Oh, by the way, Hudson, Captain James tells me you had a bit of a domestic crisis at Somerby Park and that you saved the day.
Hardly that, sir.
Well, he said you were a pillar of strength, and he was very proud of you.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, Mr. Hudson, I didn't like to mention it at the servants' hall, but Edward was a bit hurt that you didn't give him the key of the wine cellar. He said it made him feel that you didn't trust him.
I'll have a word with him. I think I was wrong. It's good for him to learn to take responsibility. Oh. Thank you, Mrs. Bridges.
Oh, Mr. Hudson, it is good to have you back. We've all missed you. But I expect you enjoyed yourself at Somerby Park. Nice to be working in a big house again.
It made a pleasant change, Mrs. Bridges. For a while.